Shrook, the captain of the military ship, was observing the space from one of the windows. Thinking about how fast the situation has degenerated, he could only swear silently at the void in front of him to vent his frustration. It's already been months since the human Jefferson was integrated into the crew of the military vessel as an engineer. He was replacing the grumpy and old one that was suddenly retiring. The captain didn't have much choice and had to take the only engineer available on the station, a human. A man from the United Kingdom, a tribe within the Human Confederacy. He'll give it to him. He had an impeccable record and had enough experience. But the notoriety of human violence did make him dubious at first. And although Shrook was afraid of a potential conflict, he was pleasantly surprised to learn that the human was friendly and respectable. Bounds were created, and soon enough Jeff, as he prefers us to call him, was completely accepted by the personnel. Even if by aspect his humanity reveals sometimes horrible and frightening things, Shrook shivered by remembering his explanation of human birth. He was nevertheless a dedicated worker, and a really good help in time of need. He wasn't a fighter, but he didn't hesitate to break the line of defense of numerous boarding pirates by himself if needed. Happy with his decision of getting his first human, the captain was convinced he needed more on his crew. Inquiring about it, he did learn that every crew who had accepted more than one human were always more efficient in their respective missions. But it proved to be a very, very bad idea. As a result of another retiring crew member, the cook of the ship, the captain decided to accept another human. For efficiency, but also for Jeff, who seemed lonely. Being the only one of his species on the ship wasn't ideal for his psyche. Shrook thought everything would be fine, but he couldn't be more wrong. The first day he showed up, he should have realized it already. Arriving from the deck, the second human saluted the crew and him. After that, he presented himself briefly. "Hello there, I am called Cedric, a French chief and your new cook. Nothing new for you, but I hope that you appreciate the French cuisine. If you have a specific way to eat or recommendations, don't hesitate to tell me at once. I would like to avoid any allergic reaction if possible on my first day." Following that, he shook hands with everyone present, the human way of greeting. But when it was the turn of Jeff, something happened. Jeff's smile was more stiff than usual. "Nice to meet you, Cedric. I'm Jeff, the British engineer here. As for the recommendation, just don't let me eat your frog's legs, it will be good." Suddenly, the handshake froze, and the atmosphere became heavier. The captain swore the two men stared at each other for far too long, before the cook replied, "Oh, don't worry about it, Roastbeef. I know you have a taste far below frogs for your kind." The captain didn't understand any of it, but he did note the tone employed by the two men becoming aggressive and snappy. He also noted that the friendly shaking of the hands was now just a battle of force. Quite worried, the captain separated in a hurry the two humans and showed the cook his room. What did he do wrong? The following 6 months were tiring, and not a single bit more efficient. The two humans were constantly pissing off each other. A malfunction of the door of the cook forced him to be locked off for a day in his apartment. The engineer, while eating, suddenly fainted, and when awakened was located in a dark part of the cargo, locked down too. And it goes on and on. To the frog in the room, to the infestation of bugs in the other, their conflict was a turmoil. Of course, neither admitted their involvements, and without proof it was getting more and more annoying. Shrook thought it couldn't get any worse, until he remembered the human bonding effect and realized too late the ramification. A cook who feeds the crew has a big influence on them, as much as an engineer who repairs their stuff and helps them in their gear modifications. It wasn't a simple war between two humans, no. Now it was a crew split in two, perpetuating similar actions to annoy each other. Soon enough, it was an official war between the Hexagon, Cedric team, and the T-Country, Jeff team. And between all of them was standing the poor and overwhelmed captain, who didn't ask for any of this. Today he decided that enough was enough. He couldn't take it anymore, and decided to summon the two humans, the two causes of his problems. Still looking from the window, he heard them come to his quarters, before stopping in front of his desk. From the reflection he could see Cedric starting to talk. "We're here, sir. Can we know why we have been summoned?" He sighed and turned around, almost whispering, "You know very well why." "Is it the electricity problems in the cook apartment? I didn't do anything, really. I'll repair it soon enough," Jeff said innocently, slightly smirking. The captain, narrowing his eyes, talked again. No, and yes. Listen very carefully. I want you two to clarify all of what happened recently, and following your answer, I'll take action. This time anger slipped through his words, and the two humans quickly composed themselves. He continued. A simple question. For all the problems you've created, for all the damages you've done, I want to know why. Why do you hate each other so much? Why does this need to be a nuisance? And why are you bringing my crew into this utterly stupid conflict? Silence came, disturbed quickly by Cedric, who was clearing his throat before answering. Well, it's quite a long story, and let's say it's because of our origins. As you know, we came from two different countries, France for me and England for me, cut Jeff before following. But these countries have been in rivalry for as long as they've been created. We fought war against them together, and we've always tried to surpass the other, no matter the cost. Wait, so you're telling me that your people killed themselves with wars? No wonder why you are so problematic. It's not only a question of war, even if we fought a lot of them. Maybe a bit too much now that I think about it. The 100 Years' War, for example, when we only knew how to smith iron. Shulk hissed agape. Your country fought for over a century? At the base of your civilization? Not only that, protested Jeff, as if he was offended. There are also the Napoleonic Wars. The American Independence War? The 7 Years' War? Stop. Just stop. How many times in total did you fight? The two men looked at each other before bursting into laughter. Way too much, we can't know for sure. So you're two natural enemies. That can explain a lot. No, wait, you're missing way too much. Our country's relations just don't stop there. The captain watched them suspiciously. I'm scared to hear more about it. I'm sure we already have millions of dead from these wars. What else can be worth telling? The two humans stood up and at the same time said, friendship, before continuing. You see, if we go back in time, our people were basically brothers. We're closer than you might think. We descend from the same culture and tribes, and it's as brothers that we fought the other one. We also fought together. The First and Second World War are the biggest proof of our bond, created with steel and blood throughout our history. So you're saying now that you're the best friends in the world? What about all this ruckus you've caused, all the trouble you've created? Over our years of dominance and over our years of battle, we are rivals by nature. Rivals? What does this mean? Well, in other words, we have acknowledged the skills and power of the country and its people, and we consider them a great enemy and at the same time a great friend, even if we won't say it out loud. It's a sort of distinction from others' relations, a special recognition only for the ones we found worthy enough. All these insults you were hearing, these actions more or less troublesome, were just a sort of teasing, Cedric concludes. Are you actually serious? Do you love that sort of teasing? The captain spat. It can depend on the person, but it seems like we're both in it. Slamming his appendage on the table, the captain made them both jolt. He had heard enough of these half-hearted jokes. Almost shouting at them now, he interjected. I saw you two fight at the bar. For a question about rotten grape juice. Are you telling me it was a game too? Well, we were drunk, so... The captain sighed heavily, desperate. He didn't know what to do. Humans were way too unpredictable to be on any sort of crew. He made an error, and now he was paying the price. What should he do? Fire them both? Maybe it was the best solution after all, to, at the very least, regain the sanity of his crew. If only he had made a different decision back then. The two humans exchanged a brief look, knowing what was at stake. Cedric started. Captain, I swear to you that we will change our way of coexisting to avoid any further problems. We will no longer try to reduce the productivity of the crew with our little quarrels. You have our word. A little surprised seeing them on the same board for once, he considered it if only for a second before shaking his head. Enough. At the next intergalactic station I'll reveal my decision about this situation. A shrieking sounded dejected. Quickly glancing on his desk monitor, he swore. The ship was under attack. With the two humans at his side, he ran towards the control room. Slamming open the door, he observed with horror the cameras depicting a wave of gigantic insects rampaging through his ship and crew. He had no idea how they got here, and half of the vessel was already paralyzed. They had to be quick. While a major part of the crew seemed still alive, they were cut off and would make it in time to the evacuation pods. Completely at a loss of words, the captain tried to contact the divided group still fighting. Suddenly, a shot made the captain jump with fright. Turning around, he saw Cedric, a weapon in his hands, with the agonizing corpse of one of these creatures at his feet. "Only I can attack the roast beef," said Cedric with a smile, while putting a last shot in his victim for good measure. Jeff laughed a bit and smiled at him, while taking another weapon off the armory beside them. "Fuck off, mate. Captain, I think I can manage to block and open the doors to create a way to the life pods, but I'll need to access the electrical compartment of the ship." "You just need to guide us with the cameras. I'll protect Jeff and create a little distraction. The time to evacuate everyone." Shulk didn't say anything, and just acquiesced with his head. The two humans didn't wait for more, and ran off to save their fellow friends without hesitation. The captain had always questioned humanity's logic, even more so following the precedent interaction, but this added more confusion to the mix. How in the world did these two go from a childish and toxic attitude to such a display of bravery? Why? Closing his door and slowly trying to guide them through the ship through their communications, he couldn't help but chuckle. These fuckers. He hadn't seen the last of them, that's for certain.